we are to defeat the European, if we are to master this earth and take back this earth from the European, then we must outthink the European.
Welcome back, New African family. This week we are going to start the series on our next concept, and that is the New African Workers Cooperative. This is something that I've been thinking about for years, about how can New Africans compete globally and within the United States economically, being that we are so far behind the rest of the country. So the New African Cooperative was one of the models that I wanted to go over and put in the record. And we're going to go over this, and we're going to go over the things about what it takes to start a New African Cooperative or a workers' cooperative, some examples here and in Europe, some examples that New Africans tried to start here recently. We're going to go over that, including a book that they wrote about the process. So we're going to have a lot of things that we're going to go over, but first we're going to set the groundwork on going on for those that don't know what exactly is a workers' cooperative and how it can benefit New Africans economically. So what is a worker cooperative? Well, we're going to get down to the definition right here and just get into the real base of what we are talking about. A worker cooperative is a values-driven business that puts worker and community benefit at the core of its purpose. The two central characteristics of a worker cooperative are: workers own the business and they participate in its financial success on the basis of their labor contribution to the cooperative. Workers have representation on and vote for the board of directors, adhering to the principle of one worker, one vote. So as you can see, a cooperative is basically a democratic working model of economics or business. Now, it's not a perfect working model. It's not the end all be all. It is just a tool in the toolbox for New Africans to use in order to raise our level economically as a collective. And that is what the goal is here with this whole channel, and everything about it is to raise our economic level collectively, not just as individuals, because we have plenty of individuals already out there with their own corporations. We have black billionaires. We have plenty of black millionaires. We have plenty of black people making a lot of money. But as far as the collective is still at the bottom. And our goal with creating this is to create a group of New Africans, black people, that are not at the bottom. And I think that a workers' cooperative can help do that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about it. A brief history of worker cooperatives in the United States. Though we don't yet have comprehensive data on the nature and scope of worker cooperatives in the U.S., research has verified 465 worker cooperatives in the United States. These democratic workplaces employ around 7,000 people and generate over $550 million in annual revenues. The number of worker cooperatives has grown steadily over the past 20 years and is made up of both well-established businesses and new growing ones, increasingly including some businesses that have been sold to their employees by their owners. Any business can be a worker-owned and controlled business. In the U.S., worker cooperatives tend to be concentrated in the service and retail sectors. Common industries include accommodation and food service, healthcare, manufacturing and engineering, technology, and design. Many of the worker cooperatives in existence today were inspired by the Mondragon cooperatives in Spain, which we are going to talk about later on, which enabled the Basques to lift themselves out of poverty and build what today is Spain's seventh largest corporation, a worker cooperative. So as you can see, this is not a new concept. It's just not something that has not been tested, that is not something that's not being successful right now. It is something that we have at least one successful model. That's my basis of doing everything, is find a successful model and try to mimic that and use it the best way you can. So as you seen mentioned in that article, we have one successful model, the Mondragon cooperative in Spain, that was started in 1956, I believe. So it has been going on for almost 75 years. And it's been successful. It's the seventh largest corporation in Spain. So when we detail, we're going to dedicate a whole video to just that workers cooperative. It's probably going to be the next video, so we can get a basis of what this success looks like. But I just want to let everybody know that this is a model that we can use, and we do not need a lot of people to start this model out. I have plenty of ideas of how we can utilize this model as something as an easy way to get started into making profits that not only benefit the members of the cooperative, but the community that the cooperative is going to be located in. So this is something that we can do as a group, pretty easily. There's nothing that's going to cost you a lot at startup to get started. We're not going to need millions of dollars of funding. We're not going to need a group of thousands or tens of thousands of Black people to come together and finally realize that we need to be independent. No, this can be started with a small group that's dedicated and has an understanding of what the future holds, and more people will come and follow. Worker cooperatives are currently experiencing a surge in popularity marked by industry and sector concentrations and the growth of a support infrastructure that includes financing, technical assistance providers, and trade associations at the local, regional, and national levels. Interest in worker cooperatives as a job creation and wealth building strategy is also on the rise, with community organizations, cities, and small businesses advocates seeing potential in the form to build a more inclusive economy. This recent growth in the worker cooperative sector can be traced back to the 1970s and 1980s, when all of today's largest worker cooperatives were founded as part of an explosion in alternate economic forms. Those cooperatives that survived have thrived and have helped seed new growth through investment of capital and expertise in a second wave of worker cooperative developments starting in the late 1990s. By 2000, several worker cooperative development organizations had begun to have success using the form as means to create good jobs for low and moderate income workforces, from home care to house cleaning. Now, is it just me, or does this seem something that's tailor fit for the new African or the Black man and woman in the United States? Low and moderate income workers who will have a stake in the job that they work for. All too often, we have very little say-so in our jobs, how they're run, how they affect the community, what they contribute to the community. They're usually not owned by people who look like us. So just the fact that we can own something that's ours, just ours alone, would be very big. something that's successful, something that helps the average everyday person. And that's what the power of a worker cooperative can be. We just have to have a very good way to utilize the information and put it into action. And hopefully through these videos and this channel and building a community here, we can get that done. Now, on part 2, like I said, we're probably going to talk about Mondragon in Spain and how it was founded, what it does now, and the scope of its business model, or the scope of its business currently after 70 plus years in operation. So look for that video sometime in the middle of next week. The video this week was a little late because I had a lot on my plate this week, but next week's video will probably be around Wednesday or Thursday of next week. So until then, New African family,